Today, we are going to discuss equivalent fractions and how to determine if two different fractions are equal to one another. I hope you are all as excited as this guy is right here. So let's go ahead and dive right in. So, to find out if I have an equivalent fraction, let's compare 3/4 to 6/8. My first step is going to be to get a common denominator. And in 4th grade, you get a common denominator by multiplying by the opposite denominator. So 4, the opposite denominator is 8. So we have 4 times 8. And then 8, the opposite denominator is 4. So we have 8 times 4. And that gives us a common denominator of 32. And now, since we're making these fractions equivalent to the ones that we're comparing, we have to do to the top what we do to the bottom. So I did 4 times 8, and now I need to do 3 times 8, right? Because I multiplied the bottom by 8, so I had to multiply the top by 8. And 3 times 8 is 24. And then, since I multiplied 8 times 4 on the bottom, I have to multiply 6 times 4 on the top, so that's 24. So, since these numerators are the same, these fractions are equivalent, which means that 3/4 and 6/8 are also equivalent. Next, we have 3/8 and 4/10. So again, step 1 is to get a common denominator by multiplying by the opposite. So I'm going to do 8 times 10. Ooh, that's a bad 10. And 10 times 8 to get a common denominator of 80. And since we don't want to change the fractions, like their value, we have to multiply the top by what we multiplied the bottom by. So since I multiplied 8 by 10, I have to multiply my 3 by 10. So I get 30. And then, since I multiplied my 10 by 8, I have to multiply my 4 by 8. Whoops. And 4 times 8 is 32. So since these two numerators are not equal, that means that 3/8 is not equal to 4/10. Okay, these numerators have to be the same in order to make the original fractions equivalent. Next up, we have 3/9 and 2/6. So again, we're going to go in and get a common denominator. So 9, I'm going to multiply it by 6 because that's my opposite denominator. Then I'm going to multiply 6 by 9. And I get a common denominator of 54. Now, I have to go back in and do to the top what I did to the bottom. So I have, since I multiply my 9 by 6, I have to multiply my 3 by 6. So that is 3 times 6 is 18. And then I multiply my 6 by 9, so I have to multiply my 2 by 9. So 2 times 9 is 18. Whoops. So since my numerators here are the same, that means that 3/9 is equal to 2/6. So these are equivalent fractions. The next one, 5/7 and 10/14. Again, I'm going to get a common denominator by multiplying by the opposite. So I don't know what 14 times 7 is right off the top of my head, so I can take it out to the side and do it. 7 times 4 is 28, carry my 2. Sometimes 2 is 7 plus 1, or plus 2 is 9, so 98. So my common denominator is 98. Now I'm going to adjust my numerator, so I'm going to do to the top what I did to the bottom. So I multiplied 7 times 14, so now I have to multiply 5 times 14. Woo. Not by 15. I didn't multiply by 15. Multiplied by 14. So we got to change that to 14. There we go. 5 times 14. So really, I could just subtract 28 here. That gives me 70. Okay, so I have 70 here. Now, I can do, since I multiplied 14 times 7, I can do 10 times 7, which is 70. So my answer here is that they are equivalent because these denominators are the same. Last example, 4/12 and 3/9. I'm going to get a common denominator by multiplying the opposite. So I have 12 times 9 and 9 times 12. And I think that's 108. So I have a common denominator of 108. And that's okay that it's big. And now I'm going to adjust my numerators. So I did 12 times 9 on the bottom. So I need to do 4 times 9 on top to equal 36. And then 9 times 12 on the bottom, so I have to do 3 times 12 on the top, and that also equals 36. So since these two denominators are the same, my fractions are equal. So 4/12 is equivalent to 3/9. I hope that this was a helpful tutorial for all of you to determine if two given fractions are equal. Stay tuned for the next round of equivalent fractions where I will show you how to generate equivalent fractions.